They're gonna flip. They gotta flip. They spent all this time talking about the flip. There's just no way they don't. It would be incredibly stupid. The writing is spray painted on the wall in neon. Are you kidding me? What was the point? Ladies and gents, my name is Peridiam, and I wanted to talk about the greatest flips in all of Survivor. No, woo, not that. No, Benry, that's a dismount. I'm talking about flips. Flips are essentially the pivot, where the main track shifts and sends you from one obvious direction to a completely different destination than you initially expected. Generally, you flip when you think you're on the bottom of an alliance and would rather take your chances with a different group of people than the losers you previously hitched your wagon to. Sometimes flips aren't the proper move and end up being your demise, but either way, they tend to make for great TV, and that's all we can ask for. It's just that moment when the stars align, when everything comes together, you can feel the power shifting before you. The tectonic plates in Survivor are moving, baby. Strap in. We're going for a wild ride.
3 magic words, Jeff. Flippers never win.
Jeff, that's flat out wrong. Flippers do win. Tony flipped 1,000,000 times and won epically.
Dan is wrong.
To measure what makes a flip bigger than another flip, I decided on a few factors. The historical precedence, the impact on the season, how cool it was to watch, and what flipper the Dolphin had to say. Spoilers, he's a big fan of flipping. At first, I was intending to make this a top 5, but nah, there's too many noteworthy flips in the entirety of Survivor to not give the subject the respect it deserves. So let's get this underway. This is part 1, covering number 10 through number 6. Part 2 will have the top 5, but more on that later. If it's really true what they say, that flippers never win, well, let's find out.
Andrea.
What?
Brenda. We're tied. 2 votes Brenda, 2 votes Eddie, 2 votes Andrea, 1 vote left. 14th person voted out and the 5th member of our jury.
Oh, you guys.
Andrea.
That was good.
Number 10. So like I said, sometimes it's not in your best interest to flip. Sometimes staying the course is in fact the best game move, despite the encouragement from outside sources spurring you on to tank your game. Number 10 is the rocket scientist himself, John Fincher from Survivor Samoa, when he flipped on his original Galoo tribe at the final 10 to prevent a rock draw from occurring, ultimately giving Foa the numbers advantage necessary to march to the end. Now this flip was pretty huge given the circumstances going into the vote, not to mention it completely turned the tide for the Foas as well as 100% tanking the entire Galoo tribe. Remember, the Galoos had just turned on one of their own not but 2 votes ago when they took out Eric, thinking they had the real estate to cannibalize each other before picking off Russell freaking Hantz. No, you don't do that.
It's continually impressive and bordering on annoying how pathetic the analytical skills of the Galoo tribe are. Let's telegraph a move to Russell. You're an idiot. Let's sit back and let's piss off Shambo. You're an idiot. Let's sit back and vote off Eric over a 30-second decision. You're an idiot.
Then they get blindsided in one of the most facepalm-worthy votes when Kelly gets idled out. So now here it is. It's 5-5 at the final 10. Russell whispers some sweet nothings into Mr. Future Parvati Shallow's husband's ear, and then all hell breaks loose. John pulls a Cochran where he doesn't really flip right away. He forces a tie, but then he says, nah, I won't let my game get ruined by a rock. If anything is going to tank my game, it's going to be my own foolish beliefs. So he switches his vote. He takes out Laura, and he basically then jumps off the Titanic and freezes in the water. It was a huge flip that guaranteed the endgame players, but overall, Fincher was kind of an idiot for doing it, and I can't overlook the fact that he got voted out at the very next tribal council. Number 9. You might notice a trend in this part 1 video, and that's because there is one. Number 9 is when Jonathan Penner flipped on the Raro tribe at the merge in Survivor Cook Islands. Not but 3 episodes after flipping on the tribe he just voted with on this flip. It was a hot mess. If you don't remember, in episode 9 of Survivor Race Wars, Penner mutinied from his I-24 Avengers tribe to the boring old white people tribe. He felt like he was pretty close to going in his original tribe, so why not abandon ship? Okay, fair enough, I get it. But then 2 episodes later, come the merge, he gets presented with a deal to go back to that original tribe that he already betrayed, and he's gonna be like the Ant-Man in the squad or something, the guy that nobody really takes seriously, so he takes the deal. Okay, fair enough. Wait, what?
If I flip again, the Roro people are gonna go mental. Mental. Right now, they trust that there's no way that the I-2 people would trust me or that I would ever go back to them.
Penner flips on the Raro tribe of Nate, Parvati, Candace, and Adam to instead go to the end with Yule, Ozzy, and a few other people, I don't know. And kinda like Fincher, it completely decides the endgame for the season all in one vote. But here's the thing, Penner knew Yule had the super idol. He knew that they were voting for Nate. He also knew that the Raros were voting for Yule to flush the idol. Why not just take the deal and then vote for Yule anyway? Flush that damn idol. It's so stupidly overpowered. It's not very often you can say this, but Penner would get to make one of the greatest moves where he has his cake and eats it too. I mean, okay, at some point you can only flip so much, and at this point Penner had flipped twice, meaning he turned his back on literally everyone in the cast at this point. I say, if this was me, you double down, you go for broke, betray both Raro by agreeing to Yule's deal, but then betray I2 by flushing Yule's idol. This cracks the game wide open. Mic drop.
Either way, people are going to be pissed. Either I'll have betrayed the Raro people and I'm a complete bastard, or I didn't jump over to the I2 people and I'm a complete bastard who screwed them twice. I don't know what I'm going to do. I wish I knew.
Number 8. Now, I'm not any happier to bring this next one up any more than you are probably going to be listening to it, but I gotta give credit where it's due when I talk about Michael Skupin from Survivor Philippines turning on his original Tandang tribe at the final 9 to take control of the game and swing the endgame in his favor. Amusingly, this involved Penner from the previous entry, but in this case, Skupin fell into Penner's role by basically burning way too many bridges to be worth a damn, setting himself up as a pretty juicy goat to drag to the end. Philippines is a good example of a season where it's very easy to tell you're on the good timeline versus the bad timeline, because had Skupin not flipped here, you're likely getting a Pete, Artis, Abby final 3. I'm not saying it would have been terrible, I'm just saying. And of course, in the most cosmic irony in all of Survivor, it came down to Skupin giving us the good timeline outcome.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
I'm like a storyteller, that's what I do, you know? Survivor is a big story. What's the story that's going to be told this season? Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? Who are the underdogs? Who is the audience going to be rooting for, whether consciously or not? What does the audience want to have happen?
I prefer this flip over the previous two, and I believe it was bigger largely because it wasn't a bad move overall, whereas I think the Fincher/Penner moves could have used some tweaking, and Skupin did manage to reach the final 3 largely thanks to this flip right here. Number 7. You guys ready? You holding on to your butts? Brace yourselves. We're about to go to one of the most infamous flips in all of Survivor, and just like the previous 3, it involves one man with one job, and damn it, Cochran, really? You had one job, come on! Number 7 is John Cochran from Survivor South Pacific. When he skillfully penetrated the Apollo Alliance at the merge, gained top secret intel on who they were voting for, then went back and reported it all to his faithful and friendly allies, only to then make the proper move, stick to his guns, and blindside Rick in a blaze of glory.
I want to ask you guys one more time. Everybody is solid, yes?
0%.
Yes.
0%.
Solid, right? Yes.
We're all fine going to rocks, specifically.
You're not gonna flip. Should I flip? Are you telling me I should flip?
Okay, now I'm worried.
Okay, well, I'm just...
Everybody is okay with going to rocks.
Anyway, as I was saying, Cochran, kind of like Fincher, hated the idea of going to rocks for the sake of someone else he had just met a few weeks ago. He didn't want his fate to be determined, especially at the final 12, by a game of chance. So instead, he took matters into his own hands and switched his tiebreaker vote to Keith, blindsiding his original tribe to join forces with Coach, only to then get voted out in 7th, and basically look pretty pathetic the entire post-merge. South Pacific was a train wreck of a season for Cochran, but by that same measure, it's pretty damn impressive what Coach was able to do here. I give this flip the nod above the other 3, not because Cochran made an impressive play, but more so because Coach made the impressive play, and perhaps one of the most historic flips Survivor has ever seen.
So I've done everything that I could. I've gotten Cochran on our side to play the rest of this game. I've convinced him that he will be valued and loved over here. I've convinced Cochran that he will be the man of the match, that the weak will finally become strong, that the nerd will finally rise up to the bully and give him a bully beatdown.
He basically locked his spot in the final 3 right here, and nearly won the game too had he not been himself at the end. Cochran flipping is a good testament to why big moves sometimes are a terrible idea. Though I suppose you could argue going to rocks is just as big of a move. Not that I've heard that anywhere. Either way, the impact that Cochran's flip had on the show is pretty noticeable as far as modern Survivor goes, and I think its inclusion, you just need it for this list. Number 6. The final soft cap on this disastrous flipping bonanza goes to a flip that is often regarded as one of the most exciting, chaotic, and kind of unexpected flips to ever happen. When I make mention of Chaos Kass flipping on her new Apari tribe, and particularly Sarah, to give Tony's alliance the numbers and all of the power in the post-merge of Survivor Cagayan. I told you guys there's a trend in this video. To say this isn't one of the most memorable flips in the history of Survivor would be crazy. Kind of like a lot of the previous ones, it didn't really seem like a good move. Kass did piss off like half of the jury here. Does she ever stand a chance to win? Either way, I can't deny just how big of a flip this really was.
In my business, we go with the hard evidence. And just because you vote with us one vote doesn't mean I believe you're true. That doesn't speak of loyalty, that speaks of desperation and a wise move. You haven't proven anything to me, except you're saving yourself. Show me blood on your hands from a former tribe mate, and then we'll talk.
Remember, Kass went into this merge up in numbers and sitting pretty cozy as far as sub-alliances went. She had Tasha and Spencer after all, and it's not like she had pissed them off yet. Her main beef was with Sarah. At the time, President Sarah, the police officer who wanted to call the shots, no pun intended. Sarah wanted Tony out, but Kass thought that was a bad idea. She saw Sarah as a bad ally and someone she couldn't trust down the line. And when Trish approached her, it was the perfect opportunity to hatch a new plan. Really, even though Kass did flip, I think a lot of the credit needs to go to one of the most underrated players ever in Trish. The Boston bombshell did a lot of the heavy lifting for Tony and his merry band of misfits. Tony couldn't flip Kass no matter how hard he tried, but Trish knew just the right combination of words to convince Kass to strongly consider taking out Sarah. From my perspective, Kass's flip was so fantastic because it seemed like it was a red herring, like a classic misdirect that Survivor loves to pull. Sure, the editors want us to think plan B might happen, but let's be real, it'd make no sense for Kass to flip. She has the numbers, just stick to the plan. Her tribe even voted for Jeffra too, so it's not like Sarah got her way. But no, it didn't matter. Sarah was the bad seed, and the only preventative measure was to rip the roots from the core.
We're tied. 5 votes Jeffra, 5 votes Sarah, 1 vote left. Seventh person voted out and the first member of our jury. Sarah.
Bang, bang.
With this flip, Kass gets all the way to the final 3, and though she almost certainly doesn't win, it's still an epic moment that paved the way for one of the best post-merges Survivor has ever seen. Whew, okay, that's going to be the number 10 through number 6 spots of what I believe are the biggest flips in the history of Survivor. So I'm going to turn it to you guys now before we get to part 2. What do you think about this top 10 so far? Do you agree with these 5 being on the list? And what do you think is going to make it into the top 5 biggest flips in all of Survivor? Let me know. I'm kind of curious if someone's going to be able to get all 5 and maybe in the correct order. Until next time, my name's Peridiam saying thank you for watching. Don't forget to grab your torch on the way out, and I will see you in part 2 and the top 5.
But he needs to remember that we're Tribe America. And if you look at history, what if the colonists never flipped on the greatest empire in the world? How about that? So since we're Tribe America, I think flippers have a great historical record to win this game.
Absolutely love you.
How about that?
Wow.
That was awesome.
America.